Welcome into Texans on Tap. I'm Brandon Strange with Charlie Polillo and Josh Jordan. Follow them on X at Polillo and at Josh Jordan 975 and read their work on sportsmap.com. No style points in football. It's all about results. The Texans pull out a huge victory that with a Colts loss today could secure the division. They're definitely one step closer to locking down that division and CJ Stroud getting to his second playoff berth in as many years. It gets sealed. This game does. It gets sealed on Texans' third interception of the game. The second by Stingley on Tyreek Hill. D'Amico's defense really bailed out the Texans all day long. We have to start there. Tua throws 29 for 40 for 196 and a touchdown, but 3 interceptions. They were all seemingly at critical times during the game. Gents, how much of Houston's success was great playmaking, and how much was Tua and the Dolphins just lack of execution? Because there definitely seemed to be both.
Well, look, this was a tour de force. Phenomenal defensive performance from up front to the secondary. Welcome back, Christian Harris, to the linebacking core in between, though not a standout performance really from anyone in the linebacking core. But the NFL, it's about the pass rush and pass coverage. And the Texans graded A+ in both of those areas. Danielle Hunter just continues a sensational season. You know, he's maybe a down ballot defensive player of the year candidate, pending someone going crazy in one of the late games. Now a share of the NFL lead in sacks with 12.5. He did catch Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, who did not get one on Sunday. He's now ahead of Myles Garrett, reigning defensive player of the year level type guy. And then on the back end, Derek Stingley, his ball skills, we talked about this before, just sensational. If he could hit whatsoever, I'd trade Jake Myers and Chaz McCormick for him in a heartbeat if I were the Astros, because, boy, he can go get the ball. Tyreek Hill's a little guy, and Stingley, with the put-away interception, just went up, out-muscled him, took the ball away. Tyreek Hill had been making big plays for a while. We mentioned in the preview his last gain of more than 30 yards was opening day. Well, the Texans shut him out in the first half before Jalen Waddle's knee injury, which sadly turned out to be seemingly only the second most severe injury of the day for the Dolphins. But Jalen Waddle had 0 while he was in the game. Just sensational. It's fair to note the Dolphins were without their standout left tackle, Teron Armstead. Much less of a factor, the absence of the right tackle, the former Texan Kendall Lamb. But Armstead, excellent player, a huge loss. But that's one stout offensive lineman. The Texans bookends, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, just fabulous. And the defense needed to be, because, again, the offense was
Yeah, I'm going to give some love to Kalen Bullock here too, man. Like, this dude is an interception machine. You put him with Stingley, and then Lassiter, not so much the interceptions today, but he had a nice game where they were trying to get him on a screen and get him blocked, an offensive lineman, and he got around that offensive lineman, made a really big tackle. So, man, these young guys, the secondary for the Texans, Jimmy Ward did what we needed out of him. I was wondering how they would look without Petrie. He's a big piece, but they played very well today. The pass rush, as Charlie mentioned, was great. And I got to give some love to Tim Settle. Like, he was kind of a under the radar pickup in the offseason, and he's really produced for the Texans. That was a nice job by D'Amico and Caserio finding him, plugging him in, and you needed him. Foley Fatukasi finally came back from injury today, got hurt in the game, had to leave. So you've needed guys like Settle to step up. He's done a good job. So not much else you can say about the defense. The only kind of negative with the offense is, how many of y'all were thinking when Bullock wasn't able to run that touchdown all the way back into the end zone, he got tackled right by the goal line? Were you thinking like me, like, they're not going to score now, they're going to end up having to kick a field goal because he couldn't make a move and find a way to score there? And sure enough, that's what happened. So unfortunate. Hopefully that's something that they can clean up. Much better to work on these things coming off a win and a big win today, because we know the implications in the division are massive.
Tua Tagovailoa have been rolling since his return. 15 touchdown passes, 1 interception over the last 7 games. He didn't hurt his completion percentage much, right? He's on pace for the 3rd best completion percentage season in the history of the league. Completed 72.5%, but zero downfield. I mean, their running game really was slot hitches to Jonnu Smith, to Devin Achane. They bottled up the run game, and Tua just unable to push the ball downfield. That starts with the Texans getting heat on him. I don't think they rattled him so much as they disrupted him. He had to get on the move. He couldn't just do everything in timing and rhythm from the pocket. And we probably should have noted, as he's been running up some of these gaudy numbers, he hadn't faced a stout pass rush. Right? He faced the Raiders and the Patriots in recent weeks, not the Jets, not premium defenses. Right? The Texans are a top 5 sack team in the NFL. 19 interceptions now as a team. Went into this game having given up the most touchdown passes in the whole league, but gave up just one of those while coming up with the 3 picks. This was their defensive game of the year. And, the Colts can win out now, unless the Texans were to somehow collapse, and it wouldn't take collapsing to lose to Kansas City and Baltimore. But as long as they didn't get swept by Tennessee, right, they have to go win at the Titans. That would be W number 10. And no matter what the Colts do, that's it. Division title on ice.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, I think this game was a little closer maybe than it needed to be. When we get that a lot in Texans games, right? But, Derek Barnett doesn't line up off sides on that field goal attempt. Then you don't get the touchdown that follows that. It would have just been a field goal. So that kind of made the game a little closer than it really needed to be. But Barnett's been good this year. Guys are going to make mistakes. So it's just the timing of that one. It could have swung the game.
Well, thankfully, it didn't cost you 4 points. It cost you only 3 because of the missed point after. So that was fortuitous on their part. But Josh, to your point, discipline continues to be a problem for this team, whether it's early snaps that led to a fumble or defensive offsides on that field goal that turned into 6 points, personal foul penalties that, put them in bad positions. On offense, it's just the Texans just continue to be challenged in scoring points, facing a defense that doesn't get home to the quarterback much. The Texans O-line said, yeah, no problem. We got you here. Giving up 4 sacks, including one that resulted in the 3rd and out that was on the next to last possession that gave Miami the ball or to drive potentially for a game-winning drive or a game-tying drive, I should say. Mixon ineffective on the ground. In fact, Dare Ngumbawale, the rush leader, on one play on the fake punt, runs for 35 and becomes the rush leader permanently for the game. But as puzzling, Mixon is the receiving leader, gets the most yards through the air. They did enough to win. And I don't want to take away some really good plays that were made during this game as well, which I'll allow you guys to highlight. But my goodness, this team's ineffectiveness on offense, especially in the red zone, can be really, really frustrating sometimes, only because we know they're better than this.
Well, we think they should be better than this. Right? 14 games into the season, you're in you are what you are territory. The offense was terrible. Now, it counts as an offensive play, but the fake punt wasn't a true offensive play. It was the play of the game. But you take that out, the Texans mustered 146 yards of total offense in victory. CJ Stroud was not very good. He was low on multiple throws. The bad snap, what are you going to do on that? You don't pick up the ball as it's coming. But Mixon was just absolutely squashed. 12 carries for 23 yards. Nico Collins, the first game where he was, from a yardage standpoint, horribly ineffective. 4 catches for 17 yards. But when 2 of them are 6-yard touchdown catches, that's still a very good day. And that was CJ Stroud buying enough time for Nico to get to the back of the end zone, cut all the way across the field. And, at the stadium, they don't show extensive replays. You get one and that's it. I don't know if Jalen Ramsey just stopped competing for the full duration of the play, or he passed Collins on to another defender, especially on the second one as he crossed. The Texans, of course, had to adjust in the offensive line as well, but losing Juice Scruggs isn't some devastating blow. But Kenyon Green did not come back and play. So it wasn't, oh boy, he was back in there, right? Titus Howard to left guard, Blake Fisher at right tackle. You would figure that he would struggle. One holding call. They did give him some help with tight end protection. It's just not a real good offense at this point. CJ Stroud has not been nearly as good now in his sophomore season as he was as a freshman. Joe Mixon on the road is money. At home, there's no logical explanation for that. It's not like their home strength of schedule has been brutal, while on the road they've been playing nothing but softies. It's just a scuffling offense. But when you have a defense that gets so many takeaways, right? You give an offense a 28-yard drive for a touchdown. Hey, the Texans can convert that once in a while. Okay, the 5-yard line, they settled for the field goal. And then the big special teams play gives them another short field to finish off that drive. So this is a mediocre offense. It's just what it is. The defense is the better part of the football team. Clearly so when it does not give up the big plays. And against the Dolphins, they gave 0 big plays.
I just think game flow and just overall philosophy, they're just very conservative, the Texans on offense. I had some notes like the first drive of the game where they ended up settling for the field goal. What is it, like 3rd and 1 right there? And instead of trying to pick up a yard with Mixon running the ball, CJ throws it up the sideline to Mixon and he catches it out of bounds and you end up having a punt right there. I thought there were several 3rd and really shorts where they elected to not try and pick up a simple first down. They went for something a little more challenging and didn't get it. And something else too, I think that could help them. If you think about that, the last time the Texans had the ball and CJ ended up getting sacked and then you had to give the ball back to the Dolphins before the final pick from Stingley, they were jumping that snap count on Stroud. I mean, Fisher had like no chance. I don't know if it was chop on that play, but I mean, dude just timed that perfectly. And if CJ would use the hard count a little bit, we saw Tua implement the hard count in this game and got an offsides penalty to kind of keep the Texans defense, make them be honest. I wonder if you have Tunsil with so many false starts, even when you're not doing hard counts or going on 2, and then you have Titus moving to the left guard and you have Fisher coming in at right tackle. Maybe they didn't want to take a chance on having false starts and hurting themselves there. But that's something they need to work on here over the next couple of weeks and see if they can make them a little more honest. Because, I mean, CJ had no chance on a couple of those pressures. I mean, those guys were in his face immediately. I think that's a simple thing that they could get corrected.
And I do want to throw in, while not a good day for the offense overall, not a good day for CJ Stroud, on the drive that had the fake punt and then the touchdown after that, CJ got drilled on a 3rd and 3 and was still able to find and get enough on the throw to get it to Tank Dell for a first down, without which they're not fake punting at that spot on the field on 4th and 3, but a little bit deeper than they get to 4th and 2. And you have people booing, hey, you're punting. No, they weren't. And, you scout, you see things, because, I mean, that was easy pickings. A faster back goes the distance. And unfortunately, quite clearly, Ogunbowale's arm was down. There was no thought to challenge that or anything. No possible fumble on that play. And then Nico scores another touchdown and didn't put the game away, but it put it in a Texan stranglehold.
Now, and the Dolphins contributed to that play with a personal foul after the play as well. So not only did was it down by contact, but they got an additional 15 yards. If I can, for just a second, can I go on a tangent here? And I know that it may be in poor taste considering the hit that Grant Dubose took. And we obviously wish him a speedy recovery. I just need to rant a little bit about the hip drop tackle. We saw another hip drop tackle on Joe Mixon. The first one earlier in the season cost him 3 games. And this happened in the second quarter, goes uncalled. He limped, did not look healthy for the rest of the game. I mean, he had a noticeable limp going to this sideline. Granted, he's a running back. He's going to take big hits. He's a physical running back, so always going to take big hits. But it's another uncalled textbook hip drop. And look, nothing from nothing, but the ensuing possession, Edward gets called for this roughing the passer on a pretty inconsequential play. I mean, he did hit him on the helmet, but it's ultimately inconsequential, but rule's the rule, so it gets called. I'm fine with that. But the rule's the rule on the hip drop as well. And then, so I feel like it's like the flop penalty in the NBA. It's just something that doesn't get called until after the fact, if it gets called at all. And I just think if it's not going to be punitive in the moment, if it's not going to impact the result on the field, I just feel like it's an inconsequential penalty at this point. I don't want just Charlie and Josh's opinions on it. I invite everybody to tell me how wrong I am on this, but that is my rant. Rant's over with. That's my TED Talk. Charlie, what do you say?
Generally, I'm against anything that can create further stoppages in play and delays of the game. But the hip drop tackle, it can be tough to spot at game speed. You can have traffic of the cluster of players. If it's in the open field, then it would be more evident, where everyone is so hyper aware from an officiating standpoint, specifically the referee behind the play, that, if you graze the quarterback around the helmet, it's liable to be called. So, in the name of player safety, if you want to have teeth in the rule, that maybe upstairs should just be allowed to buzz in and say, hey, that was a hip drop tackle. That's 15 yards. You guys didn't see it on the field, because an envelope from the league fining the player Tuesday, Wednesday, $11,712 or whatever their goofy system is for the fines, obviously has no impact on the current game when there is no penalty imposed until well after the game.
It's frustrating, right? Because 2 hip drop tackles on Mixon, and he's gotten hurt from it twice. And I know he was able to come back in this game, but that didn't look good with him laying on the sideline, and CJ came over there and took a knee. Like, that was looking scary, because we talk about this every week. They don't really use anybody. You don't see Dameon Pierce anymore. It's pretty much all the Mixon show now. So him getting banged up is a big deal, especially where they are and where they are in the schedule, Brandon. Mixon hurts his ankle again, and you got to play the Chiefs on Saturday and then play the Ravens the following Wednesday. I mean, this is a bad time to get a little nagging injury like that, because there's not a lot of days to recover before they have to go play again. One positive I did see from the offense coming out of the bye week, I noticed CJ was a little more aggressive with just trying to pick up 5 or 6 yards in the passing game on first down, whether it's checking it down to Mixon or just getting it underneath to Woods or somebody like that. I thought that was good. I didn't see them in 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10 as often today. So I liked that they were a little more aggressive, throwing the ball short to put CJ in more manageable down and distance on 2nd and 3rd down. What I was a little disappointed is that as the game was closing out, Bobby Slowick got a little conservative again and started running the ball on first down. And once again, Mixon was getting stuffed or even losing a yard or two. I think that's what's so concerning, is it's just so boomer bust with the offensive line, with the run game. Like, if you just pick up a yard or two, okay, but you shouldn't be regularly losing 1 or 2 yards on first down, especially when you have a running back as good as Joe Mixon.
Who's your MVP for the game, for this game?
Go ahead, Josh. You can take my guy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go Stingley. He iced the game. That was a hell of a catch on that second interception. The first one was good too, because he picked the ball up so late and still caught it. But that second one, that was an unbelievable play on Tyreek Hill there on the sideline.
And he was also excellent in, whether you want to call it run support or hitch and quick short pass support. Stellar game. But to honor someone else, I feel like I shouldn't go offense. Daniil Hunter's the logical next choice, I think. Honorable mention to Will Anderson also. Any game you have a strip sack. But I'm going to go Nico Collins, and I'm going to borrow from golf, where it said drive for show, putt for dough. Well, for 94 yards of the field, Nico Collins did next to nothing in this game. But 2 6-yard touchdown passes were about the entirety of the offense, and he caught them both, and on extended plays where, if they have the pedometer on him for how much yardage he covered on those routes, it's not like he was running a long pattern, but he ran a long route crossing the field, working through traffic in the end zone. And if he gets his mitts on it, he's going to catch it. And he did twice for touchdowns.
Yeah, Hunter was a guy that I identified in our preview as an X factor, but for this game, I have to. It's undeniably Stingley, whose fingerprints are all over this game. He was absolutely the difference. What an effort for him today. My favorite visual from the game was the interception over Tyreek, where he's running it back and he's dragging Tyreek Hill with him, and would have kept dragging except for he just stepped out of bounds. It was an incredible visual. So kudos to Stingley for having an incredible day. We invite everybody who's watching this, give us your MVPs in the comments. And while you're there, click like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate all the support. If you, next time, if you're wanting to listen to this podcast, which we do after we do our Thursday preview Thursdays, and then we do the live reactions after each game. If you're unavailable to watch us on YouTube, we're available on all of your favorite podcast apps like Apple and Spotify. Just go search us by Texans on Tap. The three of us also host an Astros podcast called Stone Cold Stros. We're going to be doing another episode on Monday, so go check that out. That's over on our YouTube channel called Sports Map Houston. So make sure you're subscribed there while we're following all of the trades and free agency action that's happening during the Astros offseason. For Charlie, Josh, Brandon, have a great one. Go Texans.